Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Holler for $1, sure for a tip. My name is J-O-E. Joe, if you don't know, right? It is February the 1st, and it is officially Black History Month. So I said, you know what, this month, I'm going to go ahead and give you some good old Black history facts. I kind of sort of decided to do Black history facts because every year, for the past umpteen years that I've been living, because they say it's not appropriate to ask a woman her age, I've always gotten the same old Black history, right? There were your Martin Luther Kings, Rosa Parks, Malcolm X, same old. But nobody actually gets into the actual Black history, right? Or even get into the fact of why, when, where, who, and how, right? So I took it upon myself, let me be a responsible individual, African-American woman, and let me just run down some history. You just let me know when you're ready to listen to this entire episode, because the stuff that I found out in research, I was appalled. Well, I was more shocked than anything when doing my research. Y'all go ahead and stay tuned to this episode, and I'm gonna get into it with y'all. All right, you guys. So I did say that I'm gonna give you Blacktual factual. Okay, if you don't know what that means, I'm gonna give you some facts about some Black history for the month of February. That is a total of 28 days, and today I started with the most talked about place. And if you don't know, it's called Lake Lanier. Now, me personally, I have been fighting tooth and nail to not do an episode on Lake Lanier because there are so many different myths. There are so many different situations that occur when it comes to Lake Lanier. And let's get into this history. All right, you guys. So let's officially get into it. So Lake Lanier was considered a popular weekend destination that was suitable for fishing, boating, suntanning, but existence have led itself to a history of states, basically theft and a whole bunch of other crimes such as accidental deaths, drownings, things of that nature, even though Lake Lanier still remains a top vacation spot for the local areas. Now, Lake Lanier was named after Sidney Lanier, who was a poet and a Confederate Army veteran. Lake Lanier residents, basically the location of Lake Lanier is like North Georgia between Gainesville and Beaufort. Now, before its completion in 1956, beneath Lake Lanier were several different towns. They were once occupied by farmers. One was actually well known, and still to this day is on the map, and it's called OSCARVILLE. Now, written and oral history did not give the other towns purchased by the state the same grace, and they remain unknown. So OSCARVILLE was actually located north of the perimeter in Forsyth County. Began as a small rural town in 1870, the town was an agricultural marvel because local farmers fought and basically made sure that part of Georgia from 1915 to the 1990s had survived the Great Depression. That's what they were aiming towards. But in 1940, OSCARVILLE resident Mr. Clarence, who actually told the Atlanta Journal-Constitution back then, how basically farmers in the area replaced the cottons with chickens to replenish the soil that was in that area. The farmers did so by using the chicken fences and financially recouping from the infestation on what they had going on in that specific area. Unfortunately, Oscarville's status as a farming town made it easier for Atlanta to claim the land with the mayor's help. Now, for those who don't know, back then, the mayor at that current time was Mayor William B. Hartford, the partial namesake for Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. He basically saw out Atlanta into a new age by expanding Atlanta and minimizing the urban areas that neighbored certain cities. As Atlanta grew, so did its need for the power and water supply. So, in April of 1946, the Industrial Bureau met with the Chambers of Commission, and basically they decided to go ahead and build a Beaufort Dam construction. This dam was supposed to basically provide resources for Atlanta. Over 2 years, Newport Dam Development kept in touch with the court system to ensure that the state could seize the land from Oscarville residents. Now, I found it a tad bit interesting as I'm going through the actual facts that I went down to kind of sort of give you guys, that the state seized these lands because Oscarville wasn't the only one. Oscarville was just the one that was talked about and passed down from generation to generation. That's how we know about it, majority of us. They asked everyone to basically give their land up except for 5 residents who was not for building the Beaufort Dam. Now, for those who don't know, the Beaufort Dam was almost like a $1 billion project that took 4 years to complete. After Lake Lanier's first fill, because Lake Lanier was actually filled a couple of times because of the simple fact there was so much, like I stated at the beginning, accidental drownings and things of that nature. Oscarville became virtually non-existent, solely living through old newspaper articles and ghost stories. Now, for those who do not know, a man by the name of Patrick Phillips, he decided to write a book in 2016 called Blood at the Root, a racial cleansing in America. He sparked a newfound interest in the long forgotten Oscarville. Philip detailed the 1912 lynching and riots that began with a sexual assault and murder of a young white woman by the name of Miss C.T. May Crow. And I'm probably saying her name wrong. SLEETYMAECROW, her. So basically, the way that he explained it in the book is basically she was sexually assaulted and she was murdered. And because of that, they began lynching and doing riots, which means that was their way of seizing the property of Oscarville and handing it over to the state of Georgia. All right. So, out of fear, roughly 1,100 Black residents fled Oscarville and Forsyth County to escape the racial violence. Despite the town's agricultural accomplishment, this is the story that defies Oscarville. With whispers of ghosts and curses, Georgia finds Lake Lanier positioned above several old towns to blame for many visitors' deaths. In 1994, nearly 200 people had died at Lake Lanier, and it's still counting, although the lake is 152 feet deep at its lowest point. Underwater forests with trees as tall as 60 feet rest at the bottom, and the trees remain, the chicken coops remain, building foundations and cements make it a challenge for them to find these bodies that they cannot find. Now, from a couple of different people, they say so many different things, especially divers. I looked up so many different stories on the divers. One diver said it can be spooky down there, and when you're at the actual bottom of the lake, it gets pitch black. Another diver said it's about 39,000 acres of water, which is like deep as hell. Okay, they said it could be 2 to 3 dozen bodies down there that they cannot get to because it's so dark down there. Now, OSCARVILLE is one of those amazing towns that have thrived. A lot of people do not go to Lake Lanier because if you didn't hear at the beginning of the story that I looked up, they said that this basically a lot of the lynching and riots came from, number one, African Americans trying to fight to keep the land, because OSCARVILLE and a plethora of other towns that were in the area of OSCARVILLE were known for farming. Back then, it was easier to get something done and or accomplished by scaring people. And I know a lot of people sit here and just say, you know what? They gave up that land freely. No. Let's make it clear. I've read multiple stories and it says all the same. 5 residents decided to not give up their land no matter what. Where these people are now, where their living generation is now, we have no idea. We don't have any more information on those people that decided to stay in OSCARVILLE. But the remainder of OSCARVILLE was seized due to these rioting and lynches because of this one white woman that was supposedly assaulted and or murdered. Now, nobody goes into the history of her specifically. But far as this town go, Lake Lanier will always be exactly what it is. 2022, Lake Lanier has filled the town of OSCARVILLE, an African American city that was thriving in the community and gave a reason for us to live on. Now, I know this episode was not long. Let's make it clear. My episode was not long, but hey, I'm trying to give you the actual factual of the situation and let you know what the heck is going on, when it's going on, and how it's going on. I wanted to give y'all something a little bit more than just your regular, schmegular things that we get every year on Black History. I'm going to try to bust out at least 2 episodes as much as I can, whenever I can, however I can for you. If you have any questions, comments, and or concerns, you can definitely hit me up on any and all social media platforms. It is DURTTY_JOE on Instagram and even on TikTok. You can find me on there, and you can actually get this episode a little bit short so that you can kind of catch my drift. You can find me on Fanbase, on Instagram, on Facebook, all of the above. And until then, I love you guys. And if you don't know what my hours are, I'm going to let you know. My hours are 9 to 5. I love you guys. Peace and be at peace.